everyone, I'm Rochelle Chernowski. This is Shell Point Today for the weekend of July 12th, 13th, and 14th. On today's show, we tour the newest gallery selections at the Art Studio, all with the theme of red. But first, a reminder about the Crystal Room's new Friday selections. On Friday nights, the Crystal Room has traditionally featured its seafood buffet and nothing else. But now they are also offering everything on the a la carte menu as well. So whether you enjoy seafood or Glee food, you can get it at the Crystal Room on Friday nights. For more information, you can call the Crystal at 454-2199. We also want to make sure your calendar is marked for a special event next week at the Community Thrift Store. Since 2011, the store has been an amazing outlet, not just for gently used merchandise, but also for resident volunteers to assist people in the community and to have fun in the process. So to celebrate the second anniversary of the Community Thrift Store, they're holding a Pop a Tag event on Friday, July 19th. During extended hours from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., you can enjoy free popcorn and sodas and the chance to pop a balloon for extra special savings. You never know what surprises are around the corner at the Community Thrift Store. So pop in next Friday, July 19th between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. at their location on McGregor Boulevard, right next to Planet Fitness. One place you can always pop in is the Island's Art Studio, located in the tunnel. Every so often they pick a theme, and their resident artists hang some of their favorite works in keeping with that theme. The current theme is the color red, and here's what our Shell Point artists have come up with. Now, before you think, wow, only super talented, lifelong artists can do work like that, make sure you read the article about Dot Beard on page 13 of your Shell Point Life magazine. If she could pick up painting at age 87, then so can you. Just look at your weekly reminder and Academy catalog and sign up for some of the art classes offered at Shell Point. You'll be glad you did. Now, before we review all of the week's best stories on Shell Point TV, let's take a moment to cover this weekend's happenings, Academy news, menus, and church news.
Welcome to the Happenings segment of Shell Point TV. I'm Suzanne Zavada, and I'm here to go over all the activities for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll start off on Friday at 8:15 when the Stamp Ministry will be meeting in the Stamp Room on the island. Volunteers are welcome. Then from 8:30 to 11:30, the Marketplace will be in the Administration Courtyard on the island. At 9 o'clock, the Round Robin Men's Doubles Tennis Group will be out at the tennis courts at the Woodlands. At 10 o'clock, Canasta will be played in the Game Room at the Woodlands. And also at 10 o'clock, we have the Genealogy Group meeting in the Sable Room of the Woodlands. At 10:15, Inquiring Minds will be in the Osprey Room on the island. And at 12:30, we have Mixed Progressive Bridge taking place in the Game Room at the Woodlands. At 1:15, Table Tennis will be available in the Tarpon Room on the island, and we'll also have the Quilters in the Osprey Room on the island. At 1:30, Vespers will be in the Community Room of the Arbor. And at 2 o'clock, Euchre will be played in the Sable Room at the Woodlands. The Vespers will be meeting in the Community Room of King's Crown at 2:45. And at 6:45, we have Game Night in the Resident Activity Center on the island. Going on to Saturday, we'll start that day off at 8 o'clock when the Round Robin Men's Doubles Tennis Group will be meeting out at the courts at the Woodlands. At 9:45, Duplicate Bridge will take place in the Manatee Room on the island. And at 10:15, the Model Yacht Sailing Club will be out at the Commons Lake at the Woodlands. At 1 o'clock, chess will be played in the Library Lounge on the island. At 1:15, table tennis will be played in the Tarpon Room on the island, and it'll be available all weekend. At 2 o'clock, we have the Saturday DVD, Parental Guidance, a 2012 film in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands. At 3:15, Basic Line Dancing will take place at the Health Club on the island. 6:30 is the time for Duplicate Bridge in the Manatee Room on the island. And at 7 o'clock, we'll have another showing of the Saturday DVD Parental Guidance in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands. For Sunday, we'll start the day off at 9 o'clock with Christian Life Studies in the Game Room of the Woodlands. And at 9:15, the Christian Life Studies group will be at the Village Church on the island. At 10:15, we have morning worship in the Village Church, and it will also broadcast live on Shell Point TV Channel 12. At 2 o'clock, the Mixed Golf League will be out at the Shell Point Golf Club. And at 6:15, we have the evening service in the Village Church on the island. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and that you stay busy, and we'll see you back here on Monday.
Hello, I'm Terry Kolath with your Academy information for Friday. At 9:15, we have an Academy on the Go educational field trip, and court pickup begins at 9:15 on the island. The destination is the visit with the latest and greatest new library, Fort Myers Beach, for those who have signed up. At 9:30, our watercolor class, Intermediate and Advanced, continues in the art studio in the tunnel on the island. At 10:15, we have the comfort of hospice care. Note the new location, Hospitality Room, the Village Church on the island. All are welcome. I'd like to tell you about some new classes coming next week. On Tuesday, July 16th, Professor Adrian Kerr continues the history of the United States to 1815. And on Wednesday, Dottie Megan rounds out a 3-session look at American art history with an American folk art class. On Thursday, July 18th, we have a computer college class, The Power of Right-Clicking, Windows 7, with Dean Traxler of Rosemont. And then Norton McKnight of Lucina will talk about what we learned wrong in civics class.
Menus for your weekend. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter on Friday is shrimp scampi with pasta alfredo and steamed spinach. The dinner special is a seafood buffet for $14.95, and the soup of the day is lentil. In the Island Cafe for lunch, enjoy a fish sandwich with fries for $6.95. The dinner special is Chef's Choice for $7.95. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill on Friday are lamb chops for $20.95 or chicken Oscar for $15.95. On Saturday, the Crystal Room is closed. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Saturday, you can have a chili cheese dog with coleslaw for $6.95. The dinner special is salmon cakes with island salad and garlic bread for $7.95. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill on Saturday are prime rib for $18.95 or braised short ribs for $15.95. On Sunday, the Crystal Room features its Sunday brunch for $17.50. In the Island Cafe for lunch, you can have a bacon, egg, and cheese croissant with fresh fruit for $6.95. The dinner special is Chef's Choice for $7.95. And the Palm Grill is closed on Sundays. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Greetings and welcome to Village Church Connections. We thank you for being with us today, and I especially want to thank Pastor Andy Hawkins for joining me.
My
welcome,
pleasure.
Andy.
Thank you.
We are looking forward to the weekend, and I know that you spend quite a bit of time throughout the course of the week preparing for your messages of the weekend.
That's true.
Spending time in God's Word, spending time in prayer, just allowing Him to direct your heart.
That's right.
And we will still be in the book of Ephesians for a little while. This week in chapter 5. Tell us where we're going.
Well, probably be in it for more than a little while. Actually, we're in the 5th chapter, and last week we just basically did an overview of the first section of chapter 5. But it's a rich section that deals a lot of different content. And the first couple of verses of chapter 5 really deal with becoming like God and imitating Christ. And that's an extraordinary, even complex thought when you try to get your head around it. And so we're going to try to take that apart a little bit, find out what it means to actually be a genuine imitator of the Lord Jesus Christ.
That sounds great. The book of Ephesians is quite directive in some of those areas, and I appreciate that. The choir is off on their summer break, so they will not be part of the worship service here for a few weeks.
But they don't give me a break in preaching, though.
They don't. But I know that we'll have some wonderful things as far as worshiping together.
Absolutely.
We look forward to that.
Yes.
And then Sunday night, before you get into the message of the evening, Jim Huba will be giving us an update about the recent trip to Nicaragua.
Right. Jim put together a trip of a bunch of people, about 7 of them, I think, who went down there and laid concrete and did some painting for a church that was building a Sunday school wing. And it's just really an extraordinary project. And when they get down there, they obviously, things don't always happen the way they expect to happen, but they often happen for an even better purpose. And so there were obviously some modifications that they had to make, but also some extraordinary times of worship and testimony. And Jim was thrilled with the trip. And I know that we're going to get a wonderful report from him on Sunday evening.
I'm looking forward to that. I know they worked very hard, but God really blessed their time there.
That's right.
And He'll be sharing some of that. And then you will be back into Genesis, looking at the life of Noah.
That's exactly right. Noah is one of those passages that most of us learned about when we were children, but then if we look at that passage as adults, we perhaps have a little different take on it. And there have been some people that have had trouble with the whole story of Noah. Why would God destroy everything that had been made? And we start to get some insight into that in this particular message, because in this particular section we're looking at something about God's plan and purposes as He used Noah and his family in a particularly redemptive way, how He designed the ark for its purposes in saving a remnant for Himself, and what God was really about, and what was God working on in this whole purpose and this whole plan. And I think we'll be gaining some great insight into what was in the mind of God about this whole process.
I know that you have addressed several things that I have never heard addressed before in the life of Noah and that whole account, and I've appreciated that very much.
Yeah, good.
So we look forward to it.
Thank you.
And we certainly invite you to join us Sunday morning at 10:15 and Sunday night at 6:15 for worship. Have a wonderful day.
It's time for our ShellPoint TV Week in Review, and we began this week talking about the Senior Fitness Test.
Hi, I'm Michelle Smith, and I'm here with Melanie Brode. If the physical dimension of Life Quest is one of your goals, I've got something in store for you. It's called the Senior Fitness Test, which will take place various dates through July. Melanie, what is the Senior Fitness Test?
The Senior Fitness Test is a series of 6 different exercises that test your lower and upper body strength, your lower and upper body flexibility, your muscular endurance, your cardiovascular endurance, and your balance. It takes about 15 minutes to perform the test. After you do the test, we go to the chart, which is the national norms of people from the age of 60 to 95. We go through the chart for your age and gender, and that way you can determine what your weaknesses are, where you could use improvement, and what your strengths are. I'm here with Ann Herman today, who has taken the Senior Fitness Test, and she's nice enough to demonstrate the 6 exercises that we do. The first test is called the back scratch test. So I'm gonna have Ann lift up with her right arm and reach as far back as she can with her fingers. She's then gonna take her left arm from behind. At this point, I would measure the distance, and she's touching her fingers, which is above average. And then we would do the other arm the same direction. Good job, Ann.
Thank you.
The next test is lower body flexibility. So I'm gonna have you kick your right leg out, Ann, with your heel down and your toe up. Good. I'd like you to stack one hand on top of the other. Take a big breath in. Exhale, go down as far as you can and to your foot. Inhale, come up. At this point, I would measure again with my stick. She's above average. If she were touching her sock, that too would be above average. So awesome job, Ann. The next test is upper body strength. So women use 5 pounds, men use an 8-pound weight. I'm gonna put this in her dominant hand. She's gonna do as many bicep curls as she can in 30 seconds. And this is more of a speed thing. The next test is to determine your balance and your agility, okay? So the goal is to get up as fast as you can, walk around that cone that's 8 feet away, and sit back down in the shortest amount of time without running. Lower body strength. This is where she would cross her hands at her chest. Her feet are hip width apart, heels are planted. The goal is to get up and out of that chair as many times as you can in 30 seconds. The next test would be the most challenging. It's the 2-minute step test. This is 2 minutes in duration, and her goal is to lift her knees to hip height for 2 minutes. How we count this? Good, she's not holding on. Every time her right foot strikes the floor is how many times I count. And that would determine her endurance. And I think that concludes the 6 tests that you would get for the Senior Fitness Test. It only takes about 15 minutes. If you want to get into the specifics or strength training and the agility, flexibility, you have to take the Senior Fitness Test to do that.
Melanie, the Senior Fitness Test is a great way to set some strong fitness goals or even challenge yourself to improve a little bit more of where you're currently at. If you're interested in taking the Senior Fitness Test, we have various dates all throughout July set up. Please give me a phone call at 454-2107. Leave me a message and I will get back to you about scheduling your Senior Fitness Test.
Ruth Duber took us through an easy recipe for pasta with pancetta.
Hi, I'm Ruth Duber, and this is what's cooking at Shell Point. And I have an interesting dish for you today. It's a little bit different, sort of a pasta dish. It's made with pancetta and with leeks, and I happen to love using leeks. Pancetta, in case you're not too familiar with it, is actually Italian bacon, and it is seasoned with peppercorns. And if you're thinking what's the difference between pancetta and prosciutto, prosciutto is the Italian ham. The recipe calls for 3 ounces of the pancetta. Now I'm going to finish with the leeks. When you buy the leeks, you'll notice that it comes with big, long stalk on it and a lot of waste, I'm afraid. And it is kind of difficult to make sure that you have it clean, but I got most of the dirt out of it. So I'll finish slicing this up. We're using the 3 ounces of the pancetta and 2 leeks. So we're going to turn some heat on here. Now this calls for a large skillet because we're going to put the pasta right in. And As I usually do, I cook the pasta ahead of time so that doesn't take so much time. So we'll brown this up a little bit. Okay, this you can see is starting to brown up just a little bit. I'm going to turn the heat down just a little bit, and I'm going to add the leeks. And I am going to be using some wine. I'm using a Chardonnay, but as I always say, the alcohol does cook off, but you can also use chicken broth. So that works just about as well. Okay, here goes about a tablespoon of butter. And the reason for that is just because it tastes good. And we'll add that butter. Then we're going to add the wine or your chicken broth. So we're going to get that cooked for a little bit. Salt and pepper. It's not too exact a science there. And while this is cooking, you're seeing that it's going to reduce a little bit. Okay, there goes the cream. And let's put in some of the Parmesan. And it calls for about 8 ounces of the pasta. I don't know, I think you can sort of guess how much you want. Let's see how that looks. There's my little dish of it right now. Now you can always add more Parmesan cheese. That salty taste of the pancetta and the leeks. Well, I'm going to put that recipe up on the website. I hope you'll try it. I think it's mighty yummy. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Tiffany Williams of Finemark Bank told us how to prepare our finances for hurricane season.
Hello, I'm Tiffany Williams, Managing Executive of Finemark National Bank and Trust on the island, with today's Finemark Minute. It's officially hurricane season, and it's important that you have a plan in place for you and also for your important financial documents. Here are some things you may want to consider before a storm is headed our way. You can start preparing now by putting important records in a safe place, like a safe deposit box. These documents may include marriage records, property deeds, trust documents, insurance policies, and your Social Security card. Safe deposit boxes are highly resistant to natural disasters, but it's still a good idea to seal your documents in airtight bags or a container with your name printed on the outside. Since most banks don't provide insurance coverage for the contents of your safe deposit box, make sure your contents are covered through your homeowner's or renter's insurance policy. It's also a good idea to identify the records you keep only on your computer. Make a printout of these items now, just in case electrical power fails during a storm. As a supplement to paper copies, you can attach scanned documents to an email to store in your email files. At Finemark, our policy in the event of a storm is to be back at the bank working as soon as nature will allow, and it's safe for our employees. However, alerts of changes in banking hours and other important information will be posted on our website, www.findmarkbank.com. As conditions and situations change, the information will be revised and kept up to date. And as always, if you have any questions, you can stop by our bank on the island or give us a call at 461-5999. With today's FindMark Minute, I'm Tiffany Williams.
Carol Clark is giving a lecture about your relationship with your primary care physician. Here's a preview.
I'm here today with Dr. Carol Clark, and we're going to talk about an upcoming program she will be presenting in the Social Center on July 17th, which is a Wednesday at 1:15 p.m. The topic is maximizing your relationship with the primary care physician. And this is really important because the whole medical world's going through a transition. The healthcare system is ever changing. New things are always in the news. And you're going to summarize it all and let everyone know what they need to know straight from you. And Dr. Clark, thank you for doing this, because this is the second time you are doing this presentation. It actually is backed by demand because we had a packed house and everybody says they want more information and they hope that you can let the information go out to even more people. So thanks for doing it again for us.
You're welcome.
Who do you hope comes to this session?
Well, of course, I would hope that every Shell Point resident could come and hear it. We could just offer it till everybody was saturated with the information. That won't happen, but hopefully the folks who come will be verbal and encourage other people to get this information somehow. The reason that we want people to have the information is our goal is always to care, serve, and satisfy residents. And at the Shell Point Medical Center, we already go above and beyond because we offer a 25-minute appointment, which is for the most part unheard of, probably anywhere in the state.
Right.
Even at that, the 25 minutes can turn into 60 or 90 if the appointment becomes out of control or too much is attempted to be accomplished in one setting. So I want people to understand that scarcity is not the issue any longer.
Right.
There used to be an idea that, well, I'm only going to get an appointment once every year or once every 6 months, so I have to take my list.
Right.
And that list can turn the appointment into a very dissatisfied experience because it's not possible to address a list.
Right. Now, from the last session, one of the things I learned was that they're really, sure there's more than this, but there are 3 different types of appointments. There's the sick appointment, I need fixed now.
Yes.
The physical, and a wellness visit. And you can't go to a sick appointment expecting to be taking your wellness to be looked at. You're just getting that sore throat taken care of. And you're going to talk about that?
I am. I'm going to talk about the different categories of appointments and the different time slots that are allotted for each of those, and how to make the most of it so that you come away feeling satisfied that my need was met today.
Right. And also last time, a lot of people were very intrigued by that wellness visit, and you talked about that. How does that tie into LifeQuest?
Well, as you know, LifeQuest is an effort for people to take control of their wellness, and this is an initiative that is nationwide, if not worldwide now, because we no longer can afford the sick care model, which has been in place for eons. Therefore, we want to link up with the LifeQuest program, and we've done that by bringing the wellness visit approved by Medicare into being. It's a once a year. It can occur 1 year and 1 day apart.
Right.
And it's a 50-minute visit with your provider, and it is not meant to be a physical. It is a review of all the medications, a review of all the diagnostics, and then a plan put in place for what needs to happen in the coming year. And the smart thing, I think, is about the LifeQuest is there's a way to really link those positively so that the medical professionals are assisting residents to accomplish their LifeQuest goals with relationship to the physical.
Well, I invite everyone to come because it's not every opportunity that we get a behind-the-scenes look at the medical field, and you're doing that specifically, what to expect here at Shell Point and how it relates specifically to them. So we appreciate you taking your time out to do so, because this is a unique opportunity. I don't think any of my doctors out there would take the time to do this. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
So if you would like to sign up for this program, once again, it's on Wednesday, July 17th at 1:15 in the Social Center. It's entitled Maximizing Your Relationship with the Primary Care Physician. I'm Mary Franklin with Dr. Clark. Have a happy and healthy day.
Rusty Shaver worked for a think tank called the RAND Corporation. Let's learn about his work in international affairs.
I liked building model airplanes when I was a kid, balsam wood and all that stuff, you know, and flew them around. And I knew I was good at that sort of stuff, and I was interested in it. And I was also very interested in world affairs in some sense. You know, even at the pretty young age, I was reading a lot of the books out of World War II, and I could have gone to any school in the country, and I chose Yale. I thought I was over with my education. I was now the time for me to go and do my thing. I worked for General Electric, up in Utica, okay, where I could play golf until 11 o'clock at night. People in GE called me up and said, well, you've been there a year, where do you want to work? And the job that I had gotten after this, I really liked. I was doing very well, and I was happy, frankly, and I said, this kind of work I really can do well, and I really like it, and I want to stay here. And the personnel people said, well, you can't. And I said, well, why not? He says, well, that job can only be held by somebody who has a master's degree. So I looked around, looked at MIT, looked at Berkeley, looked at one or two other schools, MIT, and it's a wonderful school, full of nothing but men. And I was single, and I said, I'm going west. When I got out to Berkeley, I had saved up money for, I hope, for 3 semesters. Now I have really no money at all, and so I had to do something. My father sent to me an article, and it was about how to play blackjack. How to win at blackjack, I should say. So I actually went up quite a few times up to Tahoe or Reno, and I bet. I was up there with my roommate, one of my roommates, and we were playing blackjack, and it was in the morning. And I knew that it was rich with aces, and my friend, he had 2 cards there, and he turned them over. It was 2 tens that he had. And he knew that there was 2 aces left. And he said, I want to double down. And he said, sir, you have 20. You don't want to double down. Give him the card. So sure enough, 2 aces. And of course, I continued that throughout the rest of my education at Berkeley. And I stopped doing it, when I didn't have to do it anymore. I was about to graduate in January. So I didn't have a job, okay? And I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. So I'm sitting there in a chair, not unlike the one I'm sitting on now, and the guy sitting next to me, he got up for his interview, for whatever it was. I was bored, and when he got up, he left the pamphlet on his chair. I read it, this is the place I should work. This is it. I mean, honest to God, this is it. RAND was founded shortly after World War II. By the Air Force. This organization was filled with PhDs. At the top of their list was, what about all those nuclear weapons? What do they really mean for the future of not only the U.S. Air Force, but for the nation? It was RAND's job to, without interference from the Air Force, or from anybody else for that matter, to figure out what nuclear war was all about. The movie was about one general got crazy and sent the B-52s into the Soviet Union to blow up the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union had a doomsday bomb, and if it went off, it would kill the world. When Kubrick, who was the director, did it, he got 3 people from RAND, went over there and helped with the script, and a lot of the things that were in the movie are the very things that we worked like crazy on. Is it really possible that a pilot with a B-52 could take off and take into the Soviet Union and drop a nuclear bomb on them? You know, those kind of things were the nuts and bolts of what of the stuff that RAND was doing in those days. You know, really trying to understand what a nuclear war would look like and how horrible it would be. The night goggles, you know, having these goggles that worked in Vietnam was a big plus for the Army. Worked well as long as there was a moon up there. But when the moon wasn't there, they didn't work well at all. So they decided, you know, could we simulate a moon? Build a satellite, okay, with a flat surface. So when the sun was shining on it, you could have it focused on Vietnam and light up just like a moon. Okay, so it was an artificial moon. It went as far as I could go in trying to find a suitable material that would shine, so, you know, like a mirror, but at the same time not disintegrate under the power of the sun. And the answer was we couldn't find one. Oh. We just couldn't find one.
So no artificial moon?
No artificial moon. It would have been great if you could have done it. NASA was looking for something to do after Apollo. And so the shuttle was invented as a new launch vehicle that could put men into orbit, you know, and all that stuff. The first part of that, which they rolled out, was a 2-stage vehicle. The bottom level was a gigantic airplane. Then the shuttle would drop that part off, and then it would turn its own rockets on and go on up. Okay. Meanwhile, the big thing here, when they would turn around, land back on the thing, they would get off, they'd take out the hoses, hose it off, wait for the next time doing it. That was the concept. It had a few little problems with it. RAND was involved in the cost analysis of it, okay, and when we looked at it, this 2-stage thing, you know, just the building of it, we estimated to be about $10 billion. I wrote my little report on it, you know, sent it into D.C. The Senate asked to have all of the documents that have been written by the various organizations, and Mondale stood up in the middle of the thing with holding out such as this paper by the RAND Corporation is going to kill the shuttle. He wanted to kill the show, by the way. Yeah. And I got my name in the front of the New York Times and all that kind of stuff. The idea was to defend the country against nuclear attack. How are we going to deal with the multiple ICBMs that the Soviets had? One of the first things I got to RAND was to evaluate what was then called BAMBI, ballistic anti-missile something. There's a nice thing to look at, okay, but you know it was not affordable by any stretch, so it was abandoned. But it was done again and again and again. So the idea that was pushed in the early 1980s was a modern version of BAMBI. We're going to put up things into space. When we saw the rockets coming up, go down and try to hit it. Not quite so easy to do in real life. First problem is their missiles are in various locations. The BAMBIs themselves are in an orbit, and they can't really shoot all that far off the orbit. The reason we didn't just wait for them to come over the horizon and shoot at them then, well, they have decoys and all that kind of stuff. They get more and more and more till they get to the point where the cost was so outrageous, it just wasn't worth it. I'm proud of the stuff I did. I'm just an ordinary researcher at RAND. I mean, they liked me because I was good at it. But basically, that's what I was. Most of the time, it was good. And when it was good, I got the opportunity to talk to people who mattered.
A hearing loss simulator is coming to Shell Point next week. Mary Franklin tells us why that's important.
I'm here today with Shelley Rogerson. She is an RN with a specialty in hearing loss, and she's partnered with Bell Tone Hearing. And she's going to give a presentation with the Health Connection called Effects of Hearing Loss with a Hearing Loss Simulator. It will take place in July on Thursday the 18th at 1 p.m. in the Oak Room. Thank you for being here today, Shelley.
Thanks for having me.
So it's going to be an interactive class this time, not passive, you giving the information. You've been here several times, but you're actually going to do a virtual talk on July 18th, correct?
Right, exactly. We'll talk a little bit about the effects of hearing loss, and then we'll go into talking about how people with hearing loss and why they might perceive conversations differently than someone with normal hearing. And then the people in the audience will get to hear simulation of how a normal hearing person hears a certain conversation in different listening situations, and then we'll play it again with somebody with mild hearing loss and what they hear versus someone with a moderate or more severe loss. So you can see the effects and how it progresses or is different for each different person.
So this conversation that you're going to be having with everyone's really good for that spouse or friend.
Exactly.
And that can be a little bit more understanding of what their loved one is going through.
Right. It'll give them another perspective of why they might be, hearing differently or not hearing what you've said, and give you a little bit of empathy of maybe what they've gone through with their hearing loss or what challenges they're facing.
Those that are dealing with some hearing loss, maybe just their understanding, I can tell it's happening, they can see, gosh, if I do nothing, this is what will progress to.
Right, exactly, where it will end up, because we usually never improve our hearing over time, so you can hopefully keep what you have or maybe see where it might go down the road if you continue without hearing aids, and get a better idea of how you would hear then if you did have hearing aids, and maybe give you a little bit of understanding of why you're hearing certain words differently than most people hear it.
Yes. Now you're no stranger to Shell Point. You come to the Arbor. You're one of our specialty options out there at the Arbor. Can you tell us a little bit about Bell Tone?
Well, Bell Tone is the oldest hearing aid company. It's been around almost 75 years now, and it's part of a nationwide network. So if you ever travel, a lot of people at Shell Point surprisingly still go out of state for the summer, so they can go to a Bell Tone anywhere, wherever they might go in the summer, and get care there at no charge at any Bell Tone. And even if you stay right here in Fort Myers and never relocate, there's a protection there because you always know there'll be a Bell Tone. Where if you go to an independent practitioner, they might come or go, and where there'll always be a Bell Tone.
Well, thank you for all you do. This will be a very interesting and virtual presentation in the Oak Room at 1 p.m. on Thursday, July 18th. If you would like to make it to this presentation, please call the service desk and sign up there. And for Shelley, I'm Mary Franklin. Have a happy and healthy day.
Friday morning, Dr. Roger Herchek will be one of several speakers talking about the hospice care offered at Shell Point. Terry Kolath asked him why it's so important.
Hello, I'm Terry Kolath, and I am here in our hospice GIP unit, the General Inpatient Unit on the 4th floor of the Larson Pavilion, talking about an upcoming academy program, and I am privileged to be talking with Dr. Roger Herchek. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Terry.
Now, Dr. Herchek, we try every single semester to share the good news of hospice with the residents of our community. And this semester, we're going to talk about the comfort of hospice care once again on Friday. And we're going to talk about dispelling the myths of hospice care. But I was hoping if I interviewed you today, we could say to people, Hospice care extends beyond this unit on the 4th floor, and you may have a friend or a loved one who could benefit greatly from hospice care. So come and find out a little bit more about it.
Right. And I appreciate this, Terry, because there's so many myths in hospice that, for example, in this beautiful unit, this inpatient unit, that people come up here just for end-of-life care, period. And that when everyone else gives up on the patient, or we have a terminal illness, they come up to hospice, they get hooked up to morphine, and that's all there is to it. But as you're alluding to, there's so much more to hospice. Hospice is a mission of love, and it does extend beyond this unit. We have, as you know, almost 100 of our residents here at Shell Point that are served by hospice. And they are not on this unit because they're not in need of this unit. So hospice is a program that we take to our loved ones, whether they qualify and are living in independent living, assisted living, in a skilled nursing facility, or in need of the hospice GIP unit. As you explained, the GIP unit is our general inpatient unit. I call it the ICU for Shell Point. In the hospital, we go to the ICU if you need a higher level of care. So if patients that are hospice served are in need of a higher level of care, for example, they're having pain that's not controlled as an outpatient, or symptoms of nausea or difficulty in breathing, whatever it is, rather than going to the hospital, they come up to the GIP unit where we have 9 private rooms over a pristine setting where there's calm and peace, and we take over that treatment and provide that intensive, loving care.
I love how you refer to it as a mission of love, because we have resident volunteers who live at Shell Point that participate and spend time with our residents who are receiving hospice care. And it is a mission of love when you can say to someone with a hospice qualifying diagnosis, we are going to make the rest of your life as comfortable and pleasant as possible out of love.
Right.
What a gift. What a gift.
And the greatest, you're right, Terry, the greatest gift we could give, and biblically the Lord teaches us this too, is the gift of love. We've set standards, for example, on this unit that within 12 hours, I want our staff to hear from the residents or the families that are up here being served, I'm in the right place, or thank God I'm here, or I sense the presence of love and God here. If we hear that within 12 hours, I know we're meeting our mission of love. And the other thing that we like to let our residents know, because we do, as you know, not only take Shell Point residents, we take people from the outside community, and we are getting more and more popular throughout Lee County. And many people choose to come here for care. One of the first things I tell them, Terry, when they are admitted is your loved one becomes part of our family. We and I will take care of your loved ones like it's my spouse, my father, my brother, my sister, or whatever. And when we say that, we really mean it, and I really mean it. And I think that's one of the things that makes our hospice unit here at Shell Point really different. It's what I often say is a Christ-centered love that we try to exude for our residents that we care for up here. And Terry, by the way, it's not a one-way street up here. We receive admissions from the hospital all the time, whether it's from our Shell Point residents or outside residents. And the hospital specialists have given up because there's no cure. So they send the patients to us, for end-of-life care. Now, just because we receive them for end-of-life care doesn't mean to say we're going to accept that they're end-of-life. So we do everything we could to stabilize people, get them back to their baseline, and discharge them. And again, I think our ambassadors in the community are those patients and Shell Point residents that have been taken care of up here, or their loved ones have been taken care of up here. and then they could help us dispel that myth that hospice is all about dying. Hospice is about living with quality of life.
It is. And about 10 or 11 years ago, when we formed this wonderful partnership with Hope Hospice, now Hope Healthcare, to create Hope Hospice at Shell Point, we started training volunteers, and everyone now has a hospice story. Mine is that I found out about hospice and became a volunteer right before my father needed hospice. And what a gift to me that I was able to know about this program, convince my parents that they should find out right away about getting some hospice care. And that's what we hope to do with these presentations in the Academy. We hope to say to people, come now and find out about hospice. So someone you care about becomes qualified for the care, you can encourage them and help them.
And I agree with that, and I appreciate that so much, Terry, because there are a lot of people that really want to sign up for hospice but don't qualify.
That's right.
You know, a physician has to do a qualifying statement that someone has a disease that within 6-month period of time, most likely they will die from that disease process. Now, that's not an exact science. We have some people that have been on hospice for years, but to still qualify. And what I always like to say is that you don't give up anything when you become a hospice patient. You don't get any less care. Your providers in the medical center still take care of you. It's just that you get additional care. Your DME is normally taken care of if you need a hospital bed at home. Your medications that are related to your hospice diagnosis are paid for. So you give nothing up, but just receive so much more loving care.
Now we're going to be hearing not only from you, our Vice President of Medical Services here at Shell Point, but also Sherry Brown, our Director of Long-Term Care will be there, and Debbie Gowing, the Care Manager of Hope Hospice. So with all three of you addressing the various aspects of hospice, our residents who come to this presentation will leave with good information.
They will. I think the team that will be presenting, Terry will talk about the unit, and Debbie Gowing will talk about hospice services in general and how you qualify. And of course, Sherry Brown is our administrator, is very much involved in our program, and she could speak to how that works at the skilled nursing facility. And because I live this every day as the medical director, I will certainly give my input from my aspect when people come into the GIP unit. Even though I really just take care of, not just, but I really take care of the people in the intensive care unit up here. I also am over the other patients who are hospice patients that live in other areas as the medical directors. So if the hospice nurses that are here have any questions, they always come to me. So I always have a finger on the pulse until people ultimately end up here for some type of treatment.
That's something else that I wonder about and I'm in awe of, is how you spend your days. You spend your days with people who are at end of life. How do you do that, day after day after day?
You know, it's really not easy, and this is the part that I could tear up with. Because we've done this program for 10, going on 11 years now. And I always remember telling our president, Dr. Dice, that I'll start the program off, and you remember this, and I'm going to do this for a week, and just to get the feel of how things work, because my background was in family practice and emergency medicine, and just totally different from hospice. And after a week, I'll hand it off to one of the other docs, and I'll oversee the program. Well, 10 going on 11 years later, I start my day every day up here seeing patients, and I'm up here until the last patient is seen. Now, I still do a lot of other things, but this has become a major focus of mine. Not that I'm forced to, but again, it's a mission of love, and you are able to touch people's lives. And it's a journey, Terry, and you're able to help loved ones accept where their loved one is. You need to meet them where they are in their thought process, in their emotions, and then help them through this journey. And the journey could be a very positive thing where, we get your loved one feeling better, they just got extubated from the hospital, they came here for end of life. In 1 week, we're discharging them again. Those are very joyous times, you know, for us. But we're able to help the family members because 50% of our care, as you know, goes for the patient. The other 50% of the care goes for the family members who haven't experienced this before. No. How often do you lose your mother or your father or whatever? So you need to help them. And that is more of a challenging aspect for a physician than dealing with the patient themselves, is helping the families through. And there's never one family member. There's always a dozen family members that from all over. So, you know, and then because you do care when you take care of the patients up here, they really do become part of your family. So, yes, that's the hard part. When someone does die, it's difficult. And I can't tell you that we don't shed tears up here, because we do. But that's a healthy thing for us to do, and I'd be more concerned if we did not care enough to shed a tear when we felt, you know, we felt the loss, or we felt the loss for the family members.
I am just so pleased to let everybody who's watching this interview know what goes on up here and who the people are. Dr. Roger Herjak, come Friday, hear everything about hospice care. Let him dispel the myths. You'll be so glad to hear more. I'm Terry Kolath.
We're glad you joined us for today's show. Tune in next week for more stories and news from around your community. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for the weekend of July 12th, 13th, and 14th. I'm Rochelle Chernowski. From all of us here at Shell Point TV, we hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you again on Monday.